Brought to you by ExpressCare Health and Skin Center. Get in, get out, get better.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about calcium and its importance in our bodies. Joining me now is ExpressCare's Dr. Jitka Lom, and she is ready to take some of your questions. Now, our first viewer is asking, what are certain foods I can eat or drink that are rich in calcium?
Oh, well, of course, milk, dairy products. Most of our orange juice is now fortified with calcium. And one thing that many people don't know is that there is calcium in vegetables. You know, spinach, it's not as well absorbed, but you can get it from green vegetables, leafy ones. And additionally, you can get a good source of calcium from salmon, especially if there are bones. You can crush it up and from the canned salmon, and that's a good way of getting some calcium. I think the cheapest supplement of calcium is Tums or Rolaids, because that's calcium carbonate. It's well absorbed when you eat your food, and many people take it for heartburn, and you're also getting calcium that way.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Now, I want to know if you can overdose.
You sure can.
Calcium.
Yeah. So there's a perfect example. If somebody has heartburn and they're taking lots of Tums and so on and Rolaids, suddenly they're very constipated because they've taken way too much calcium. Their bowels have stopped moving very well, and they're having that, let's say, overdose symptom. But there are other ways that you can overdose on calcium, of course, if you take too much supplement. Now, many people think calcium is a good thing. It is, but only in moderation. So studies have been done to say that if you take too much calcium, you're going to actually increase your risk of heart attack and stroke now, because we just discussed how you create more hardening of the arteries that way. So you have to take a balance. Now, most people who are healthy people, adults, that you know, you continue to form bone until you're about 30 years old. You continue to get a bigger bone mass. So up until that point, you might want to take maybe 600 milligrams of calcium at the most, along with some magnesium. But if you're an older person and you already have bone loss, you don't have as much within, you may need a higher dosage, but definitely not more than 1,200 unless it's under the advice of your physician. So again, most healthy people really don't need any if you eat properly, but if you don't, then maybe 600 milligrams for adults would be enough.
Okay. Now, our next viewer is asking, is calcium easily absorbed?
Well, it just depends on the form of it. You have different forms of calcium. Of course, if it's in orange juice, it's in a liquid form, so it's very easy for you to absorb it. If it's in a powder, for example, a supplement, they're very large, most calcium supplements, and they're hard to swallow. But if they're in a powder form, they're a little bit more difficult to absorb. So the calcium carbonates, the Tums, the Rolaids, and all of that, they're actually like a chalk. So it makes it a little bit harder. And a lot of the absorption of calcium actually depends on stomach acid. So it depends how much you've got in your stomach. That will determine how much calcium you absorb.
Okay. Now, I had a question. As a parent, some children don't like to drink milk.
True.
And so, you know, we go to great lengths to get them to drink their milk and strengthen their bones. So maybe adding chocolate to their milk. Now, how does that play a role, or does it affect the calcium?
Sure. Well, it's a clever idea to get children to drink milk. Now, whether they really should drink milk is a big debate, you know, because in many parts of the world, people's bones are perfectly healthy and they never drink any milk. Most of Asia, for example, you know, Southeast Asia, there were no cows historically there, so people really didn't drink milk, and their bones are perfectly fine because they're absorbing it from their other foods, especially their vegetables and fish. But you know, whether we can give our children some milk, I think in moderation milk is good. Maybe if you want to flavor it with chocolate, that's fine. You just want to limit the sugar, as always.
Of course. Now, we mentioned a little bit about overdosing with calcium, and then there's also the mention of osteoporosis. Now, does overdosing on calcium have a negative effect in regards to osteoporosis?
Well, the osteoporosis question is a difficult one because so much it's multifactorial. So even if you took perfectly wonderful amounts of calcium, what happens in your bones is that in all of us we have a bone balance. We have bones that are constantly being remodeled by certain cells and certain other cells that are building them up again. So there's a turnover. And about every 7 years, we'll have a completely new skeleton from this process. So you may have enough calcium that you're taking in, but because of your genetics, your bones are being broken down more quickly than they're being built up. And that's the ultimate problem in osteoporosis. It's one of the cell function. So to help yourself be as healthy as you can and to have the strongest bones that you could have with osteoporosis, you need adequate calcium supplementation. For most people, that's going to be about 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day, elemental calcium, along with your magnesium and vitamin D for your bone health.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor.
You're
for
welcome.
providing us with your great expertise.
Thank you.